Welcome to episode number 7 of the Catchlight Show. I'm your host, Bob McClenahan, and I'm here with my special guest, Frank. Frank and I met Frank probably, 7 or 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Probably at one of the tweet-ups,
Mm-hmm.
The infamous tweet-ups at the Cordair Art Gallery. And I don't know, we just kind of became pals, mostly because we're both photographers.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a professional photographer. I was just a dude with a camera at the time. You kind of had an interesting background because you started off, it was that whole Hardy Wallace social media contest thing, right? That's kind of where you got introduced to the wine and coming up to Napa.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so we met through a tweet up, and I'm originally born and raised in Napa Valley, but I was currently living in Los Angeles working in the film industry. And my wife and I thought it would be a good idea to apply to this Murphy Good competition. And they were looking for a video guy that does social media, nation wine contest. So we kind of applied for it, and then we saw it, and we kind of thought of it, I think a lot of wineries are going to be interested in people with skills like this. So rather than, kind of just paying all my attention to Murphy Good, I just started branching out to see who else was interested. Mm-hmm. Going to the tweet ups, meeting people with similar interests like we did. And I was able to kind of take my passion for filmmaking and wine together. And soon after, I met Chuck Wagner at Camus Vineyards. And we just kind of hit it off. My passion for Napa history really meant a lot to him, and we just connected. Mm-hmm. And we created a nice bond and a nice trust, and we kind of just worked together with the whole family. And since then, it's been really busy. Yeah.
So he's a fantastic photographer, even though he's kind of got his start in the video making things. But I've always loved your work, and I think it's really, really good.
Likewise.
And so we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about how he works and kind of some tips and tricks, and hopefully I'll be able to learn some stuff that I can steal from him. Because I know there's some things that I can't do what he's doing. So anyway, we did have some questions that came in from viewers. So right. I did want to go over those real quick. The first one was there was a guy who wrote in, and he has I forgot which Canon it was.
Okay.
Who cares about Canons? But it was a Canon crop sensor with the standard, I think it was 18 to 55 kit lens. And so he was wanting to know what he should get next. What would his next lens be?
What would he upgrade to?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a whole lot of information there as far as kind of maybe what he enjoys shooting, so you could kind of get a better idea of what to get. But anyway, what would you maybe suggest as your first lens right after your kit lens?
Well, that's an interesting question because I just did that transition a few weeks ago. I was shooting on the Canon 60D for about 3 years. Great camera. Got it mainly for video because the screen flips out and you can adjust it, so you can put that camera anywhere and kind of see what you're doing. It is a crop sensor. That's what you use to describe it. Yeah. And so basically you're not getting full frame picture.
Right.
And I was using a zoom. Sounds like this gentleman is using a zoom as well.
Yeah.
And a couple of things you run into is you're not getting as much image as you could get. The resolution's a little bit lower, and you're not getting true focus. At least in my practice, shooting with the zoom, because there's so much glass passing through there, and you got your filters.
Yeah. You're
just not getting that true sharpness. And what we recently upgraded to was the Canon 5D Mark III, which is this.
Which you happen to bring in.
Yes. So we got some props here.
And what lens is that? That's a big honking lens.
It's heavy. It's the Canon Luxury Series 85 millimeter.
1.2? It is a 1.2. Okay, so that is the big dog of the Canon lenses.
It's a big dog. It's heavy, so I recommend using a tripod when you shoot with this.
Yeah.
And now, first I got this lens, and then I used it on the 60D, which was the crop sensor. Right out of the gate, you start noticing true sharpness.
Mm-hmm.
And for the person who asked the question, I would switch to a prime lens.
Yeah.
I prefer the 85 because you can get a nice close up on your subject. You don't have to be in their face to do it.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with. I don't know where he was wanting to go with his photography. If he's going to be wanting to shoot a lot more birds, you're going to want a big telephoto lens. If he's going to be wanting to shoot a lot of landscapes, you're probably going to want a wide-angle lens. If you're going to be shooting a lot of portraits, kind of the 85 or the 70 to 200 or something like that would be a better fit for the for your next step.
Yeah.
But honestly, for a crop sensor camera, and if you wanted to do something that was fairly cheap, my recommendation would be to get like a 50 millimeter 1.8. Probably costs about $100, and that lens would allow you to actually get some depth of field. Like I said, you can get them for like $100. It's kind of like a no-brainer, and that will kind of allow you to also shoot in much more low-light situations.
Yes.
So between those two things, give that a shot. The 85-1.2, while it is a fantastic, beautiful lens, it is quite expensive, and putting that on a crop sensor camera will turn it into like about 130-ish millimeter lens. So it's actually a fairly good telephoto. With a full frame camera, it stays at 85.
Mm-hmm.
Next question we had was there's a guy who wanted to know about storage, and specifically about a RAID system for backup. So, where do you store all of your images and the videos?
Well, we actually have a guy at the winery named Stephen Chapman, who's a genius in this department. So I'm not really the right person to kind of respond to a question like that.
So do you do all your work at the winery, or do you do it from home?
At the winery.
Okay.
So what Stephen has set me up with is this huge hard drive that's got backup pieces in it. So if one of them breaks down, it immediately saves it to the next hard drive. So if that makes sense.
It's all in one enclosure, one box?
Yeah, one enclosure.
Okay, so he's probably got, so it sounds like it's already a RAID system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got what I believe is the RAID system, but what I also do is have a routine where we've got backup servers. One at the winery, one at the Napa office, and we'll back it up there maybe like once a month. Mm-hmm. So your work is easy to access next to you, but it's also accessible to other people at the winery.
Right. And
backed up at the same time.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the way to go. Have a safe local backup, and then also have an online component just in case your house burns down, or somebody comes in, or an earthquake. Whatever it's going to be, if you lose, even if you lost what you had, at home, you still have, a backup that you can pull down from. Personally, what I do, I have a couple of hard drives that are hooked up to my computer. Those are my working drives, and then on my network, I have a Drobo with four terabyte drives in it, and that acts as a backup. So that's constantly backing up all the data there. I don't have an online backup solution per se, but when I do deliver images to clients, I upload those to my website, and that kind of acts as my backup in a sense. So the raw images aren't backed up, but the high resolution JPEGs that I deliver to the clients are backed up.
Right.
So for the most part, I think I'm hopefully kind of safe.
Sounds like you're good.
Last question I had was editing software. What editing software do I use? So let you answer that one.
All right. Wow. Editing software. Well, after taking pictures, what I do first is I take them into Lightroom. I do a couple little things to the whole batch, export them as high-res TIFFs, 16-bit 300 DPI, and then I take them into Photoshop for some cleaning, and then, it all depends on what the image is too. Then go back into Lightroom. But I would say 85% of my time is spent in Lightroom. Just a fantastic program to edit and export with.
Yeah, no, and that's what I've used too. I've tried a number of different solutions. I wouldn't call them a solution, but different applications for that. And honestly, Lightroom does the best job, and it's also the quickest.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go through photos very quickly, edit them, and which for me it's important because I have a lot of clients who I need these pictures tonight, and or I want them. In some cases, they want them during the event.
Wow.
I want these pictures during the event because I want to put them on Instagram and put them on Facebook, and they want to blast them out. So even anyway, so that allows me to very quickly go through, pick out some select ones, edit them, spit them out, and done. So I would highly recommend Lightroom. It's $10 a month, and it includes Photoshop. I mean, it's just kind of a no-brainer. It's really kind of the best. Anyway, that's all for the questions that we had. Let's talk about the wine.
Okay.
So this is the 40th anniversary edition of the Camus Cab. Is that the regular cab or the special selection, or is this something a third version of the cab?
It's the Napa Valley Cabernet. So it's for the 2012 vintage, marked the 40th harvest. So to kind of celebrate, they designed this new packaging, beautiful bottle, and photos of the family on the front of the label from back when they first got started. It's just a beautiful, delicious wine, ready to drink now, or you can age it if you wanted to. But I'm drinking it now.
I'm drinking it now too, and it is fantastic. I gotta say, so I think there's a lot of times when, and we're gonna get off the photography subject here for just a second, but I got to tell the story. So there was, I think everybody has a wine or an experience that they taste it and they go, oh my God, I love wine, right? And I had that moment when I had a Camus special selection. I wish I could remember the year. It might have 2006, 2007, 2008-ish. I don't remember what it was, but it was at an event for Cabernet Day. I think it was at St. Supery.
Oh, right, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I tasted that wine, and I'm like, oh my God, I love wine. And that was the wine that just kind of put me over the edge. Up until then, I'd been drinking, cheap junk. I really wasn't into wine that much. But since moving here, kind of like, started drinking more and more, and I really started to enjoy it. But that wine just kind of went, okay, I'm a wine lover now. So.
Yeah, I think that was the 2007 vintage.
I don't know, but that was really good. It was really good. So so thank you for that,
my pleasure.
for introducing me to that. Anyway, so let's get back into some of your images here.
Okay.
So on the screen, and hopefully everybody at home can see what we're seeing here. But that is Chuck Magner. He is the
owner and winemaker. Camus Vineyards.
Okay. And how did you get this shot? Let me guess. I'm gonna just guess. Okay, so the sun is obviously coming in from the left.
Yeah.
And you have a gold reflector down by kind of down there on the lower right, and that's kind of what's reflecting back on him.
Yep.
Is that pretty much right?
That's right.
Okay. And then I just thought you had picked a totally perfect day. But talking earlier, you mentioned something about cloud replacement. So is this a totally natural background that you have on that?
It is. Those are real clouds. So basically, Chuck and I met up here. My wife was helping me shoot this. And it was a great day, but there were no clouds in the sky. Chuck and I just love clouds.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple days later, I'm driving down the road, and I see storms come in. I'm like, you know what? I bet you I can go get it. I think I remember exactly where we stood. So I drove up there, hiked up the hill, got to the exact same spot, and shot those clouds. And then matched the color temperature to what the day was like.
Okay, so he was there on location, but on a different day with a plain blue background.
Plain, beautiful blue sky.
Yeah.
I just want to see some clouds.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And unfortunately in Napa, we get so few days where there's clouds. You know?
What's up with that?
So yeah, I've done the same thing. I have a bank of cloud images, and if I have to go out and shoot a job and it is the typical blue sky, which I find extremely boring, then I will do the same. Mm-hmm. I'll just throw in the clouds in the background, and it'll give the sky a little extra zhuzh.
Yeah.
And it's great. So anyway, but I mean that is a fantastic shot.
Thank you.
I would not have guessed that it was a composite.
Yeah, I mean it's totally real. Just two different.
it's totally real, just totally fake.
If you several hours later.
I have no issue with faking images. So, can we go up one? Yeah. Okay. So that is Charlie Wagner.
Yep.
And he is a winemaker for
Mare Soleil. So he works in Monterey County in this appellation called the Santa Lucia Highlands. And just a phenomenal place for Chardonnay. Chardonnay is one of my favorite varietals, and I think he's doing a fantastic job there. And so this is him in the vineyard checking on the Chardonnay. Mm-hmm. He also makes two Chardonnays, one that is barrel fermented called Mare Soleil Reserve, and one that is aged in cement tank, and that is called Mare Soleil Silver. He also makes Conundrum Red, which is a proprietary blend of red grapes from California.
Right. And for this shot, it looks probably like a fairly similar setup, where he's obviously backlit, probably taken in the evening, because I think the mornings there are usually fogged over. But I don't know.
Depends on the day. Yeah.
And then again, probably with either with a reflector or with a light bouncing back.
Yes.
So do you shoot strobes on location, or
No.
Is it all pretty much natural with reflectors and?
It's mostly natural. I'd say it's all natural with reflectors and diffusion, like flags to diffuse the light. And I usually try to shoot where the best light is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a struggle between like stand back, you look, and you're like, where's the best light? Where's the best background? This is where we're shooting. And then you try to dress it as fast as you can before the sun moves.
Because the sun moves surprisingly quickly sometimes.
It does, yeah.
When you're trying to shoot and trying to get a shot lined up. Beautiful.
Thank you.
And obviously, that you can't shoot in the middle of the day.
No.
That's the one thing most photographers need to realize. You cannot shoot between the hours of 9 a.m. and, well, depending on the time of the year, but say 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Yeah.
You got to shoot at the when the sun first comes up, when the sun is just going down.
Yeah, half sun.
Yeah, because you just need that beautiful light coming in. Otherwise, it's just too harsh. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously, you know that. So let's go down to the very bottom one there, and that is the Mare Soleil vineyard.
That's the same vineyard that the Charlie was just in.
Okay. And again, obviously, you're not shooting in the middle of the day.
Nope.
You were shooting at sunrise or sunset.
Yeah.
And is that all natural?
Yes. Again, I had no clouds.
Uh-huh.
I had a blue sky, and as you know, when you're shooting directly into the sun like that, you lose a lot of blue. It comes like kind of a grayish white.
Yeah.
And if you saw the original RAW file, it is so dark. Because I like to underexpose my shots.
Yeah.
I find that if it's underexposed by 2 stops, I've got more wiggle room to extract information than if it was overexposed by 2 stops.
Sure. Yeah. And how did you? The sun has like a little bursts of light, of rays. How did you get that?
That's natural.
Do you know how to get that, or was that purely an accident?
Let me tell you what I. So, I might be standing on my car, or I'm on a step ladder. That was actually with a wide zoom lens.
Okay.
And I think I had a neutral density on it already, probably a 6 or an 8.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question.
It does not, but I think. Do you know what? Do you happen to remember what the camera settings were on that? So
that was a year ago. I don't.
That's all right. No worries. So a little trick that I will share with everybody, and it looks like you got it, but I think you probably got it by accident. But if you put your lens like at f/22 or f/32 if you have it, or stop it way down. When you shoot into the sun, it creates those streaks of light.
Because there's more sharpness going all the way back.
It has to do with the diffraction. It has to do with science. So I don't know, but that's how you do it.
Okay.
So people have asked me, how did you get that star effect out of the sun and do all this kind of stuff? Did you do that in Photoshop? No, it's just a camera set. So in order to do that, that's how you do it.
Thanks for sharing that.
Sure thing. So anyway, that's I have quite a few shots that are like that, and where I shoot it like at f/22 or f/32, depending on what lens I have. So the next shot here we have is that cab?
That is Cabernet.
Is that the Camus cab?
That's Camus cab.
Taken on an overcast day, or perhaps
in the morning
with a shade.
I tend to shoot everything in the mornings. Rutherford weather is very different than Napa weather in the morning, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll even bring a silk. Sometimes depending on how tight you are on the shot,
right?
I'll shoot in the middle of the day and just shade the whole area around me.
Yeah.
Like if I gotta get the shot today, that's what I'll do.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is some sort of cover or sun bounce that is a very translucent material that you can shade things with. So you can shade, grapes, kind of get rid of all the harsh shadows, use it on people. That's what I've done. If we have to shoot in the vineyard in the middle of the day, that's when the client is available. That's when we're going to shoot. And so you got to do whatever you can to get the shot. So I'll cover them up, create a shade over their head. It'll get rid of a lot of that. You can maybe add a little extra fill in from a bounce or something like that, just to give it a little bit. But anyway, great. So let's look at the bottle shot. So this is almost the entire lineup of Wagner wines. Is that right?
I think it is the total lineup. That is the 2011 Napa cab.
Okay.
And we're drinking the 12. So I believe it is the full lineup. I mean, within Belglas, there are 2 other vineyard designate Pinot Noirs. But I believe that's the full lineup.
Okay. And looks like you just have a pair of strip lights on either side lighting that, and perhaps another light on the background, or is that just spill from the strip lights?
It's the same lighting setup. Yeah, so it's you actually gave me that advice a few years ago, the big soft boxes. So I'm shooting with, I think they're 30 by 40 inch soft boxes.
Okay.
Big ones.
Big ones.
And
with do you have a small speed light inside, or do you have big studio strobes inside?
Well, coming from film, I use constant light all the time. It just helps it's the way my brain's kind of set up to work.
No, that makes sense.
So I like to see things happen as I'm playing around.
Yeah.
And so this is another image that's also got some composite work on it. As you know, bottle photography is very challenging.
Yes.
It took me the longest time to figure this out. A cinematographer friend of mine named Michael Jacob Kerber in Los Angeles was like, glass is funny. It's about adding the reflections you want to see. And I was like, aha. Mm-hmm. And then I just kind of, boom, it made sense. And then I was able to start, doing stuff like this along with your help with the lighting. So 2 big lights on the side. Mm-hmm. And then it's a composite where there's a long bounce card underneath it because the light gets darker towards the center. So there's one shot where it's...
so the table is fake too? No,
table's real.
Table's real, but the background is...
Everything's real. They're just composites on top of each other.
Yeah.
There's nothing fake here.
I know.
Everything's real.
I know, it's good.
So yeah, just to kind of get nice bounce light on the labels, there's a big white bounce card in one shot that runs right in front of them.
Okay.
Just to bounce that light on the label so I can get enough information to extract the details.
Sure.
And with white wines, like the Mer Soleil, I've noticed that a lot of white wines these days are using darker glass, which makes it even more challenging to make it look like a white wine. Mm-hmm. So what we'll do is we'll do a silhouette cutout on a white piece of paper, tape it to the back, and give it like a little curve. So it's its own little bounce card of light going through the bottle towards the camera, so you can actually see that Conundrum Whites and Mer Soleil are in fact white wines.
Right. Yeah. And I know when I shoot white wine bottles that I will light the background specifically, so there's just extra light back there, so that it's kind of coming through, so that it does kind of give it a little bit of a glow, to make that look good. Forgot what I was going to ask you about the bottle shots, but we are running out of time already. So let's go down to the next shot there. And what's your name?
Harvest Duhigg.
Harvest Duhigg. Oh my God, that is such an awesome name. Where is this located?
This is a rotation crop somewhere in Napa Valley. So rotation crops are in an area that used to be vineyard. Sometimes they'll pull the vineyards out and plant a crop of wheat to bring back the nutrition into the soil. Mm-hmm. And then when that's done, you harvest the wheat and you put the vineyard back in. So she's standing in a rotation crop.
That is awesome.
Yeah, everything in there is 100% real, zero compositing.
That is a great shot.
Thank you.
When was this? Is there a reflector on her?
No.
No?
It's early, and I believe she's facing towards the sunrise. And the sun was already up, but luckily I had some trees breaking it up and diffusing it.
Yeah, that is a gorgeous shot. How did she just naturally just kind of pose like that? Or was there some direction there?
Very little direction. We were shooting a video, and I told her that I wanted to get some stills, so just kind of, act natural, just hang out there for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes when I'm taking photos of the winemakers, they'll just naturally start working.
Yeah.
And I just don't tell them I'm taking pictures because you want that raw, natural, I'm present in the moment type of feeling, and you can't get that when you're directing them sometimes.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, they're not actors, So telling them, okay, I need you to all of a sudden do this, they're just like they get very stiff and very self-conscious, and it doesn't look natural, and it comes across in a photo.
Yeah.
And that is awesome.
Thank you.
I love that shot.
And that was the 24 millimeter prime.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we can go down. Well, let's see if we can hit them all here. So the next one
down.
An
hour show, right?
We might.
We have more wine.
So this is Jenny.
Jenny Wagner.
Right? And she is the daughter of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And she also now makes wines.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. And she is just hitting it out of the park. Like her Merlot is like hands down the best Merlot I have ever tasted. Sauvignon Blanc is nice and crisp as well. Just really great wines.
Is that the Emolo?
Emolo.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, great shot.
Thank you. Now the sun's practically gone at this point. And we were out there. We went out there to do a video as the sun was setting, and I was like, I forgot to get some pictures. So then we started snapping it, and it is so dark. And I'm like, I look at my camera, and I'm like, I tried. I don't think there's anything there because it was just so dark. And then I discovered Lightroom.
Uh-huh.
And this was the photo that convinced me that Lightroom is the best software for this.
Yeah. If you shoot RAW, and it sounds like you do, you can pull out so much information out of that file to make it something usable, something cool, and it constantly amazes me. You know what you can actually pull out of it. Which, you know, if you're a JPEG shooter, that's fine. But if you have an SLR, and you do at all any post editing, you got to shoot in RAW. It just makes all the difference in the world.
It really
and
does.
Again, I've had a lot of shots saved where I've totally blown the exposure, and I get it home and I look at it and I'm able to, you know, extract the data and it turns into a great photo.
Yeah.
This is Joe.
Yes.
Right?
Joseph Wagner.
Joseph Wagner, and he is the winemaker for
Bella Gloss Pinot Noirs. So
fantastic Pinot.
Yeah, really, they're fantastic.
And where is he located now? Where is this shop?
So he still works in Rutherford and in St. Helena, but the 3 Pinot Noirs he makes, the vineyard designates for Bella Gloss are, one is in Sonoma County in the Russian River Valley called the Dairyman Vineyard, my favorite. And then Monterey County, Los Alturas. That's a good one too. I mean, they're all my favorites. It depends on what I'm having for dinner. And then the third one is the Clark and Telephone Vineyard in Santa Barbara County.
Right. And fake clouds in here?
Well, they're real clouds. I just, there were no clouds that day. This is him giving a demonstration about root pruning and tilling it back into the soil. So in a video, he digs in there and he pulls out the cuttings from last year, just to kind of give an example of how it goes back into the soil. And I just looked at the composition. I was like, hold still, snapped a picture.
Yeah, no, that's great. Another thing that I've noticed that you do, that I think a lot of beginners don't do, is to make a more pleasing composition, you have the person off to the left or right a little bit. You know, you don't want them dead center. And so having a portrait, an environmental portrait like that, where you want to show the background, you have the subject, you know, on the left or the right, usually rule of thirds, you know, kind of that third rule, and then have, you know, where they are, you know, in the rest of the photo. Again, another great shot here.
Thank you.
It's so simple, yet, you know, it's so simple, but it's so perfect.
Yeah,
thank
you. That's actually my hand.
Oh, is it? Are you just sitting here just doing this?
Yeah, it's really, really hard to do.
Yeah.
I think that's with the 85 prime, so it's on sticks, all the way up, pointing down, and then, so it's on the 60D, so I got the monitor, I can flip and kind of see what I'm doing.
Okay, all right.
So it took several shots, but finally got it. And that's a Chardonnay cluster from the San Lucia Highlands, Monterey County. And what I love about this Chardonnay is the hens and chicks, the big and the small berries. And you'll notice one side has some suntan on it.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one side gets a little more sun exposure than the other. And I think that really helps with the nice, rich flavors that you get from that wine.
Yeah, no, I was going to pour some more wine.
Oh.
We don't have any more wine. Oh, Rich took it.
Hey, Rich.
Rich took our wine.
That's the one. Yeah, pour yourself a glass.
Oh,
yep,
good
to see you.
Nice to see you.
So anyway, so that's pretty much going to wrap up our show. Again.
Already?
I know, we're over time too. So anyway, again, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. I mean,
anytime.
It's so good. So you can always view his work in Wine Spectator magazine, right?
Yeah.
Those ads.
Those
ads are full of his images. Obviously, if you go to what's like the main website? Is there a Wagner website?
If you go to the WagnerFamilyOfWine.com and you go to the shopping area and you click on the bottles. Most of them have a lot of the videos that we put together.
Okay.
And a lot of the photography on that site is mine as well.
Yeah. And you have a YouTube channel?
Wagner Family Wine.
Okay.
Yeah, just go to YouTube, type Wagner Family Wine. You'll see all the videos that we put together over the last 4 years.
Yeah. So anyway, awesome work. Definitely go check it out. And if you want to go check out my work,
his work is fantastic too.
NapasPhotographer.com. Seventh episode. This is the first time I've actually pimped my own website.
You should do it more often. It's really good.
I know I should. Anyway, thank you all for joining. We're here the third Monday of every month at 4 p.m. Pacific. You can join us on ToutSuite.com. You can watch us afterward on YouTube.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. Thank you very much
buddy.
for coming on.
Anytime.
And, get some Camus too.
Yeah, it's good.